Remember the 5th of November. Today, The Matrix Revolutions turns 20 years old. That's right, The Matrix Revolutions turns 20. At one point, what was considered the conclusion to the Matrix trilogy. And this was kind of a big deal. As I said a couple of months ago, my Matrix Reloaded retrospective, for people a little bit older and younger than me, Lord of the Rings was their Star Wars. For me personally, my Star Wars was the Matrix trilogy. And I love these films, and it was quite something to have 2 and 3 filmed back to back and then come out in the same year of 2003. It set a new trend with transmedia storytelling, because along with the films, you also had the Animatrix and the Enter the Matrix video game, which actually explains why the Oracle looks different. Sadly, Gloria Foster passed away, so she's no longer able to play the Oracle. They got Mary Alice to play the Oracle, and they explained that the Merovingian punished her in some way, and that she's taken various forms in the past, and this is a new shell, so to speak, for the Mother of the Matrix. I remember seeing the teaser after the long set of credits of Matrix Reloaded. That was such a cool teaser, seeing what was to come, and your imagination kind of being filled with like possibilities. And that's probably, besides a kind of stuffed story, the weakness of the films. It's not really the films themselves, it's audiences' expectations. It's kind of like the Star Wars prequels in a way, where like Matrix 1 set up a world, you didn't see that world, so your imagination started like turning wheels of like what that world would be like, what Zion would be like, and anything that wasn't entirely what audiences' perception or imagination was immediately deemed awful. And I think it's kind of unfair. You kind of have to take a step back. Do the sequels kind of ruin a great original film? Yes. But in many ways, they enhance them. The original trilogy is really about birth, life, and death. This being death. Everything that has a beginning has an end, Neo, you know? And that's something that's very interesting. This is action-packed from start to finish. It was great also seeing Bruce Spence as the train man at the beginning. Yes, the gyro captain from Road Warrior is Zedekiah Zulzerander in Legend of the Seeker. Very underrated actor, and he played a great role for the limited time he was given. Merovingian returns. I love seeing Seraph. Seraph has a lot more to do in this one, and that nightclub fight was great. A lot of parallels to the third act of the first Matrix. And we also get Neo, which he was kind of in a coma of an in-between state of like not in the real world and not in the Matrix, you know. He was in this train tunnel, and I love this because he meets the couple that we saw in Matrix Reloaded. They have a daughter named Sati, who of course plays a larger role in the 4th film. And it was cool seeing how they continued for Matrix Reloaded. In many ways, Reloaded and Revolutions are one film when you watch them together, and that was so cool because that was such a cliffhanger. You really did not want it to end on Reloaded, and I'm glad we didn't have to wait a year. You know, Back to the Future did it in past, but you had Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter, Infinity War Endgame later in cinema, where you had to wait an entire year, where I'm like, no, I'm kind of glad I was able to see this on DVD and then go a couple of weeks later and see this in theaters. Who could forget Neo Damarung with Agent Smith versus Neo? Mr. Anderson, we've been expecting you. It ends tonight. I just love that fight there. That is like some straight up Dragon Ball Z Superman level of action. In many ways a precursor to superhero films. And it's kind of funny how like CG and reality are presented with the virtual and real worlds. And I love what makes this movie is the war element of the machines attacking Zion. Oh my god, is that some of the most insane action I've seen of this trilogy with the machines. It was sad seeing Trinity die, seeing Neo lose his eyes. He kind of had like the Mortal Kombat vibe there. And it was quite fitting that each of them died in the previous film somewhat, and they both die in this one, only to both be resurrected. It's quite interesting in that way. And it was great seeing the Machine City, and that scene where he's standing there and you see the actual Deus Ex Machina was just amazing. All the way down to the ending, you know. And there definitely are some Christ metaphors, so to speak, with Neo. And I love that ending, you know. In many ways, John Wick 4 kind of had a similar ending this year. It was a nice bookend of Neo sacrificing himself to save humanity. At the time, I was very disappointed. It just felt lackluster, you know, with the ending, but with the passing of time, I've quite grown fond of this installment. Despite the flaws of 4, Resurrections was, needless to say, it didn't need to be made. That being said, I'm glad one of the creators came back, but at the same time, maybe you need a new like a fan approach, so to speak. And maybe it's kind of like Chris Carter in X-Files or Lucas with Star Wars, where it's like too close, but at the same time, it's their story. It's not the fan story. And I like what they did with 4 only because I didn't like Neo dying in this one. So if I had to have one more entry that was kind of an epilogue, so to speak, a commentary on the trilogy, while giving Neo and Trinity a happy ending riding off into the sunset, I'm happy. I'm happy with that ending now. And this one was so good. The martial arts, the technology used, yeah, there's a lot of CG here. Even some Unreal Engine level stuff like you wouldn't see till later in the PS3 demo videos and stuff, or even like the Xbox One, you know? Like definitely early stuff. Everything was kind of waxy, you know? That was like the 2000s phase where everybody started using CG for like basic stuff. Only a human could create something as insipid as love. Why? Why do you persist, Mr. Anderson? Because I choose to. And it was kind of cool seeing how he destroyed Agent Smith. This is just an epic movie, and it was quite a year for like trilogies concluding, because later on the next month in December we got Lord of the Rings and Return of the King, and every film kind of had that kind of franchise epic vibe. But it was ballsy to end it and to wrap it up in a nice bow tie where everything was concluded. But looking back at the trilogy, Matrix, like I said earlier, could be birth, Reloaded has themes of life, this has themes of death, and of course Resurrections is resurrections or rebirth. And that's just so fascinating to me. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly reflect on The Matrix Revolutions. Let me know what you thought of this film when it came out, what you thought of it over the years. I've grown more fond of it, actually. I love all the Matrix films. Like, I'm not one of those that is like, The Matrix ruined my childhood and I hate the sequels. Like, I love all the Matrix films. Like, the first one's clearly the best film, but I love all of them. They're just freaking awesome science fiction epic adventures, and I love every single one of them. That's a red pill I would always take. Kansas goes bye-bye when I watch these films. Just let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to check out these other Matrix-related videos for more content. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Till next time.